You know that feeling when you're on a roller coaster, enjoying everything, and then all of a sudden you get absolutely smacked into the side of your restraint? No? You clearly haven't ridden a Gerstlauer. Roller coasters come in all different shapes, sizes, and designs, but some translate better than others. To any ordinary guest, smoothness matters, as it's a big part of how enjoyable the ride experience is, but to us roller coaster nerds, I'm not quite sure if it matters that much. Of course, a smoother ride experience is generally enjoyed by more people, and is one of the many reasons why I think the general public enjoy a B&M, Mac, or Intamin ride. Because most of the time when I talk to my friends about their favourite rides, they always come back with the response that they don't enjoy wooden coasters or rides that feel more janky. I get this comment a lot with one of my personal favourite roller coasters, Colossus, at Thorpe Park. It's still in my top 5, even though a lot of people say that it's uncomfortable and might not be worth the neck pain. Bear in mind, I've only ever tried UK roller coasters, so my list might not be as impressive as ones that have had the opportunity to try out others across the world. But I will always have a soft spot for Colossus, even if it's not a fan favourite. But it got me thinking, how much does a smooth ride experience affect your enjoyability on a ride? It's not just Colossus that gets this comment. The Smiler, Saw the Ride, Rattlesnake, and Vampire. Many others like this get disliked because of the way they can rattle you about, especially Rattlesnake. But that's not so much for the coaster itself, it's more so the brakes. But to be honest, it's time for you and Juan to go, babe. It's not even stereotypical me saying that either. It's his actual name. Free up Juan, he did nothing wrong. Chessington, please bring him back. This has also become a problem for more recent B&M coasters. It's not so much a head basher like Saw or other Gerstlauer coasters, but more of a bounce. B&M used to be well known for their quality and variety of rides. Think of B&M as an M&S store, whereas something like SBF Visa is your Aldi. But now, a lot of enthusiasts aren't so sure. Ride manufacturers like Intamin and Mack Rides are doing great innovative things. Think of the 2 new additions we had this year in the UK from both companies, Hyperia and Gold Rush. But it's not all bad. A less smooth experience in some ways can actually be a good thing, as it can amplify the Force's experience. This is a great thing for coaster nerds like myself, but for normal people, it can become quite an issue. It's always funny when I have to try and explain how to properly ride Colossus and Vampire. Some people might not know, but you can actually wrap your arms around the restraint and stick your head out. You might look like an emu doing it, but it definitely enhances the ride experience, because you won't be getting bashed about as much. To be honest, I think it really depends on the length of the ride. Think of the Smiler. If it was a minute shorter, I don't think I would mind being it a bit rougher than a normal coaster. But because you're strapped in it for so long, you get tired of leaning forward or bracing yourself. Some people might start to avoid the ride altogether if they know it's not worth it, which is a shame, because some rides are really great, even if they are a bit rough around the edges, no pun intended. Also, to the general public, if a ride rattles or has a bounce, they can sometimes think it's something wrong with the ride in terms of safety. Samurai in particular gets this complaint. People think they're gonna fly out. While this might sound stupid to those of us that know it can't happen, for a theme park and ride to be successful, it has to appeal to everyone, not just the galvanized steel worshippers. Rides can unexpectedly become rough if not maintained properly, or it can just magically appear, like Mandrill Mayhem's Kangaroo Fuel. A lot of people also like to complain about Nemesis Reborn's retrack and how the final turn section has a rattle. While I'm not denying it, it's not like it impacts the ride quality itself. It's right at the end. Listen, I will take all improvements in exchange for a slight jackhammer simulator. Wooden roller coasters are guilty of being some of the rougher roller coasters, but that's not a design fault. Traditional woodies are often rougher because of their construction materials and methods. Thankfully, most of the time, the types of restraint and how the shock is received on wooden roller coasters is different, because they usually have a lap bar and sustain rapid or minor shocks instead of affecting the person physically. Most of the time, I'm looking at you, big one, please. It's instead transmitted into the seat or the rider's chest, which makes it more comfortable overall. If wooden roller coasters didn't toss you around like a basketball between Steph Curry's legs, I think it would make for a less enjoyable experience. But I do think this is why RMCs are the best hybrid type of coaster, as they provide a smoother experience with the best features of a wooden roller coaster. But don't get me wrong, I still enjoy wooden roller coasters because of the transitions. They feel way more forceful. GCI tries to manipulate this sensation by adding bank turns and direction changes, but they can never capture the real feeling. That's not to complain about them though, I really enjoy their coaster models. Speaking of which, Wickerman is a great example of a rougher coaster that is still great. I say this in quotations because I think it's one of the smoothest wooden roller coasters in the UK. Wickerman is a great example of how good maintenance can keep a ride from getting uncomfortable. I haven't been myself, but I've seen a lot of discourse online about Blackpool having some of the roughest wooden roller coasters in the UK, and I'm interested to know what you guys think. Be sure to let me know if you have any experience with them. Obviously, if a roller coaster is too rough, it can cause health and safety issues. We all make jokes about losing our spinal cords on rides like Colossus, but frequent joints and vibrations can actually cause serious issues. Not only this, but it also increases the likelihood of nausea and motion sickness. I have heard that some people excuse Saw's roughness because that makes it true to the movies, but I'm not sure that's what they were aiming for. But I do feel like I've been put on the rack by the end of it, so I guess they make a good point. I do like to slander rougher rides, but that doesn't mean I hate them. Most of the time it's due to the trains themselves, or maybe they're in need of new wheels. Or maybe it's just the profile and it's absolute dog water. Do you ever just look at a coaster profiling and just say, what were they smoking when they built that? Well, that's how I feel about Hero at Flamingo Land. I could build a better support structure in Fortnite.
There's nothing hero looking about that.
Please never let Zamperla cook again. It's burnt. Stick to the jungle bus if you're going to produce thrill rides, okay? I also just wanted to point out that sometimes it's something as simple as the restraints that make the ride bad. I bet you're surprised that I didn't mention SLCs. Well, don't worry, I've heard you. For those of you that don't know the glorious name of SLC, let me tell you the tale. An SLC is a heavily cloned model built by Vekoma, and it stands for Suspended Looping Coaster. Wow, what an original name. SLCs are probably the most famous example of a rough ride with no substance. Let's say there's a ride that you really enjoy, but one day it gets a bit rougher. You might notice it, but you still really enjoy that ride because it's still the same layout and does what you enjoy. Well, an SLC is none of that. There is no point where you feel good about yourself on an SLC. The layout and transitions on them are probably the most concerning out of all roller coaster types, usually causing an abrupt or jarring movements. But it's also bad because of the train designs. SLC restraints are just about as comfortable as an IKEA chair. It's safe, it has a purpose, but you don't exactly enjoy spending time on it, especially if you're inverting every other minute. I don't know about you, but my IKEA chair doesn't start flipping every 2 seconds. Not to mention, half of the layouts are just clones of each other. If a park is desperate and short on money, I can maybe imagine them thinking it's a good idea to have one. But at the same price, probably slightly more, you could get a great Intamin custom layout. And get this, it would be an actual selling point. No one, and I mean no one, jumps for joy when they hear their park is getting an SLC. But good on Vekoma. They're making world-class thrill coasters now, and that's a great step away from SLCs. Please, Vekoma, never go back. If you enjoyed this video, or it made you laugh, consider checking out some of my other videos. If you're feeling extra generous, subscribe, because there are more videos on the way. I'm currently working on a versus video comparison, so if you don't want to miss out, be sure to stick around. Again, thank you guys for the support, it means the world, and let me know your favourite underrated coaster, or if any of you actually enjoy Colossus, I'd love to know, because we need to stick together. It's a tough community out here, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Take care, nerds. Hey, did you hear Thorpe Park are finally getting rid of Rumble Rapids and adding a new roller coaster? Oh wow, that sounds great. What did they add? Wait, let me guess. A dive coaster? Oh, wait, a flying one. Wait, no, don't tell me. They built an RMC? They built an SLC.